I want to establish clear rules to maintain the separation of big money from political power. Can't be done. Why not? Money is power, is it? Power is the ability to make change. That's what money does. So do lots of other things. War, persistence, sacrifice. All of those can be made slaves to money. So you believe money is the king and the coin. You want to talk? Let's talk. I'm happy to talk to you about it. It's not what I believe. It's what is. Money is not all powerful. We've simply allowed it to lay claim in areas where it does not belong. This coming from a judge. What does that mean? The Supreme Court isn't the topic. So what's the problem with money in politics? That's where it belongs. Money is fine in the marketplace. It is a useful promissory note that allows the wheels of the economy to more freely spin.
What about the problems it causes?
It's contextual. Harm comes from conflict.
Today money exerts undue influence on our democracy.
A system of power distribution which should belong equally to all people, and only to the people. Dollars belong in politics.
No.
Democracy works with only one currency, the vote. We need to take big money out of politics.
Where do we start?
With campaigns.
But the Supreme Court ruled that money is the same as free speech in political campaigns.
Buckley v. Vallejo. That's right, General. They ruled that spending money is essential to disseminating speech. And in 2010, they ruled that corporations had the right to free speech.
Citizens United v. Federal Elections Commission.
Where they ruled that contributions by corporations and unions are protected, like people, under free speech.
Astonishing.
Right.
They were terribly wrong.
And there were 4 justices who agreed with campaign finance reform measures.
Justices Sotomayor, Ginsburg, Breyer, all joined Justice Stevens in his dissenting opinion. Justice Stevens wrote that the court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. We must keep big money out of politics.
How's that even possible?
It's not. Can't be done.
Professor.
It's not. Why? Money is politics. Politics is money.
True it is. He's right.
What? Decisions are made based on questions. Questions are prompted first by those most sensitive in any system.
Like a frog in a forest.
That's right. And who's more sensitive to change than businesses in a capitalist market?
Aren't they better equipped than anyone to ask the most pertinent questions?
Of course not.
Why?
Motivation. What do you mean? The motivation of a business is to increase profit. And that's great. It is in context. But it becomes a dangerous thing when taken out of context.
A tiger in a jungle is beautiful. A tiger in a village is not.
Business is motivated to ask questions that answer its primary need for financial gain. The country needs to ask bigger questions that include how people are employed, for one.
Fair enough. But I do think money may well be free speech.
How?
Communication costs money. Marketing costs money. Publishing a book, renting a hall, printing a leaflet all cost money.
That argument had little weight when SCOTUS used it in 1976. But now, information, communication, they are accessible to everyone. Every opinion, thought, and position you have can be posted for the entire world to see. So you believe the Supreme Court judges that argue campaign finance reform represents a limitation on free speech are wrong. Of course. Look, I don't think there was ever a time when money was free speech. The very notion undermines the most basic principles of democracy. But with the changes in access to communication, any argument SCOTUS or big business might have made to that effect no longer has any merit. We also widely accept and even endorse certain limitations on free speech.
A person can't yell, "Fire," in a crowded theater when there is no fire.
How would we rein in campaign finance, Rajiv?
We pass a law to change the system from big money, private, corporate funding to small dollar public funding under a clean elections law.
Can we do that?
New York City uses a system like this right now, as does Connecticut, Maine, Arizona, and Minnesota. Small dollar public funding with strict disclosure laws and penalties for campaign law violations. We need to get big money out of politics. Small dollar, publicly funded campaigns. This is where we start.
A publicly funded, clean election system.
Restoring democracy to the people.
And making politicians, for the sake of their own political survival, more responsive to the voice of their constituents.
For the sake of our democracy, we have to get big money out of politics. Agreed. I'm in.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If it's good enough for New York.
I'll draft the law and we can all sign it together.
Huzzah!